And she's like, before I came to live with you, I was a boy, then I died, and then I came back to live with you. And she was so serious about it.
Welcome to Trust Yourself.
Well, sissy,
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you changed your outfit because you were
thanks.
very professional businesswoman in your beige
I thought
blazer.
you were going to say blah today.
I mean,
Thanks.
but now we've got a bright red blazer and a fun shirt that your friend made you.
Yeah,
Love that shit.
Shout out. Rallied apparel.
Let's do this. Oh my gosh. Past lives.
Past lives. Have you ever met someone and felt like you've just known them forever? Or maybe you've had an irrational fear that doesn't really make sense in this life? Have you ever considered that maybe this isn't your first time here? Studies suggest that thousands of kids recall verified past life memories, and I will say my daughter is one of them. So today we're going to talk about past lives, Woo! What they are, maybe why they're controversial, and how they might just explain and hold keys to healing parts of ourselves that logic can't explain. So for me, it started with my toddler's vivid recollection of being a different person. And for Heidi, it started for you with a deep soul regression in Colorado.
Well, it really started with just like a weird aversion to the state of Colorado, and I thought it was weird, but then when you also said you had the same aversion, I was like, oh, this has got to be something.
Let's explore this.
Let's dive in.
Yeah. Well, we definitely live in a world right now that is obsessed with proof, right? Yet we can't tell what's real or what's AI created content. And we also live in a world that clings to, what's that quote, seeing is believing. And quite literally, we can only see a sliver of the light spectrum. I just think that's so ironic.
We got to see it. Otherwise, it doesn't,
exactly.
It's not real life.
So why not be a little bit open? Let's suspend disbelief a little bit today and take a deeper look into those unexplained patterns, fears, or maybe even passions that you just can't explain why you have this. You just have it. And maybe it's not random. Maybe it's part of something bigger that you've already lived through.
Spoiler alert, probably is.
Probably is. I have a really short, funny story about this. One of my neighbors here, he is not the type that believes in past lives at all, but he did have a funny comment the other day. He's like, I just love water. I love boats. I love the sea. I just feel like I just love being a pirate. And I feel like he kind of joked, like I was a pirate in a past life, I'm sure. But then he's like, oh, but obviously I couldn't have been because ironically, I also need to see land. I can't be in the middle of the ocean because I'm terrified of that. So then I said to him, well, actually, what if you were a pirate in a past life, but the ship sank and your crew drowned, and maybe that's why you still have these fears and desires. Like you love the sea, but you want to see land because in your past life, you actually died in the sea.
That was
And
100% my first thought.
His eyes were like big as saucers. He's like, whoa. My mind is blown. Actually, what if that did happen?
Probably.
You never know.
You never know.
I thought that was funny, but I will say I've never really been big into past lives or reincarnation. I never really thought of it until I had kids. And my middle daughter, Nora, she was actually, even when she was really young, when she was just learning to talk, she would always say she was a boy. And I'm trying to be a very liberal parent here, like, oh yeah, you can be whatever you want to be. But even when she was 2 and 3, I'd be like, oh, hey, little girl, hey, sweetie, or like, you're such a good girl. And she'd say, I'm a boy. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever you want. But it wasn't until she was probably 3 or 4. And her older sister, Harriet, they were playing in a room together, and I was in the other room, but I could hear them. And Harriet said something to her. I don't know what it was, but Nora responded, "Oh, yeah, like when I was a boy." And I perked up. "When you were a boy? When was this?" And she's like, "Before I came to live with you. I was a boy, then I died, and then I came back to live with you." And she was so serious about it. She like not even joking, not even cracking a smile. And I was just like, what do I do with this information?
Yeah. First thought, I'd be like, how do I respond? But
Yeah.
tell me more.
Yeah, exactly. So I did spend quite some time trying to be as open as possible and not have any leading questions, right? But I just wanted to ask about it. So Sean and I were both like, let's stay open-minded, but Sean more so is a skeptic than me. But it got to the point where it was so crazy that we both couldn't deny it. We're like, this is insane. I mean, she's describing hairstyles and clothing styles that are all in the 1880s-ish. And then she pointed to a president in that exact era. My mind was blown. But I'm not going to spend this whole episode talking about it. Wait, I did actually submit this story to another podcast, amazing podcast, Two Girls, One Ghost. If you guys want to listen to them, they're amazing.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Do you remember what episode it was?
I was just going to say,
we should drop that.
What episode that is.
We'll drop it in the show notes.
Yes. Yeah. It was a listener story, but yeah, I'll put that in the show notes so you guys can go listen to the whole thing. It's crazy. It's good.
I will say though, I think my favorite part of that whole shenanigan story was when 4-year-old Nora taught your entire family how to play old school marbles.
Oh,
yes. With the circle and the marbles and all the, in the 1800s, how they played marbles.
Yeah.
And she taught the family how to actually play marbles. And I was like, damn, that is so cool.
Yeah. Cause we had the marble set, we got it for Christmas, but it has the plastic connector pieces and it spins around and around. And I can't remember if it was me or one of the kids was like, "Hey, Nora, did you play this when you were a boy in your past life?" And she was like, "No, but we did play with marbles, but not like this. There was none of this stuff." And then
there was no marble run craziness
no marble
happening.
Run. Right. It was nuts. She talked about that. She talked about milk coming in glass containers to the door, bathing suits that covered most of your body.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
So cool.
But
then, of course, we've done research on past lives too. And a lot of them were saying once they hit 5 or 6, they kind of forget about it. And she totally did. So it was it fit. Everything fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Kindergarten started and she's like, I don't really remember. I don't know. Maybe I made it up. Okay. Maybe you did, maybe not. But it's, I don't know, pretty coincidental. But Heidi, tell me a little bit more about the Colorado trip and kind of what spurred you on for that.
Oh man, that was nuts. It was so kind of like I hinted before, I've always had this weird, I just call it an aversion to the state of Colorado just because I had no reason to not like Colorado. We went as a kid, maybe just a couple of times. We went skiing. We went to Breckenridge and Keystone. I remember having so much fun.
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I'm such an outdoors person too. I love hiking. I love skiing. So there was really, realistically, no reason for me to have this weird almost anxiety when you think about going to Colorado and almost just ugh, gross. I don't want to go to Colorado. But I mentioned it to you earlier this year and you were like, "Oh my gosh, I feel the exact same way." And then I was like, "Ooh, I wonder if we both had a past life there or something crazy happened in Colorado." And so I kind of forgot about it. And then one morning I woke up with this strong urge that I had to book a trip to Colorado, a solo trip. I had to just go. And, shout out to my husband, Kent, because he's
was
very
gonna say,
supportive.
Might I just add here that Kent is an amazing husband. Good job. Thank you.
I was just like, hey, so I think I need to go to Colorado next week. And it was immediately after our family trip to Florida for my cousin's wedding. And so he's like, okay, whatever. Because of course, I really like numerology. And so I was looking up the dates and like what dates would be most important for me to go to Colorado
It has
to heal.
to be now.
And it had to be that day, like the day after we came back home from Florida. But anyway, so as I was like preparing for this trip, I was searching for like past life regression healers and therapists for that. And I was looking in the Denver area and I found this woman. Her name is Larissa Carter with Divine Ascension Healing. And I contacted her and we did like a quick Zoom free consultation, and immediately like we totally clicked. And she's actually from Iowa, a small town near where our dad was
Shout
born.
out Hawkeyes again.
Yeah.
Go Hawks.
So I was just like, I just really connected with her. And so we scheduled it, and it was what was it? It was a 6-hour past life regression. So the first like 3 hours, I just kind of gave her like my life story basically. And then the second half was she talked me down into hypnosis and went right into a past life. And it happened like so much faster than I expected it to. It really just kind of felt like, my eyes were closed. I was very in a meditative state. And I'm kind of that person that I see visuals very easily. And so I just immediately had this visual of me at the base of a mountain, kind of in a valley with like a really calm creek. And then there's this little log house or like a cabin that was there. And I was like standing barefoot in the grass. Like that was my first like shoom, like into my past life basically. And I started explaining it. And so what kind of came out of that was basically, I wasn't like super certain on the time frame, but it was definitely when like slaves were alive and well in the South. And they
weren't well, but
not well, correct.
Slavery
Oh God,
was.
please edit that out.
No, it's okay.
But it was definitely in a time where slavery was happening in the South. And I felt like my family was from Georgia and we were very rich. We were a rich family. And I
already don't like this.
I know it was so yucky, like not yucky, but it was just like, I felt all the feelings. And so, so it was, our family was probably living on a plantation. I mean, I could see the house and everything. It was very much like that. And family was well off, and I had one younger sister, and she was like much younger than me. And I was probably around like 16, and my parents were like wanting me to get married to this other rich man who was probably like old. I don't know.
Ew.
Yeah, super gross. And so I wanted to run away, and I was super conflicted because I didn't want to leave my little sister because I was afraid that she would like have the same. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry when I'm talking about this too. Ew. Okay. So, anyways, but I didn't want to leave her because I was just like afraid that she would have the same fate as me, basically. So, anyways, I left and I took a train, and I ended up in Colorado, I guess. And I met this woman, and she immediately felt very warm. And I immediately knew who this woman was, like in my current lifetime. And just had that same feeling with her of like, she felt like my second mother, and just felt like home, really. And so I was with her family, and I connected with, she had like 3 sons, and I got really close with one of the sons. And it was almost like we were just deeply, deeply friends, but we both felt more, but we never actually said it to each other. And then he left for like the military or something. I don't know. He just had to leave. And then just things kind of changed. And I felt like every decision I was making was the wrong choice. And then I left that family, and then I was living on my own, and then things were hard, and I couldn't have contact with my sister I kept trying to write to her, but I think so in my regression, this little girl was like 6 or 7 years old. But I was writing to her, but I wasn't getting anything back. And I ended up, so that lifetime was really sad. And she took me, Larissa took me to a time, like with the hypnosis, Larissa was like, okay, take me to your death now of this lifetime. And where are you? Describe everything. And I was like in my bed alone, just feeling really sad and heavy. And, like I was dying with so many regrets and feeling like I failed my sister, I failed my family. Every choice that I made was wrong. And it was awful. Like it just felt really sad. But then, after that, we kind of talked about it again. And then Larissa helped me connect with my higher self. And she was like, okay, I'd like to speak with Heidi's higher self now. Is she available to talk? And then of course,
what
came
is
through.
the difference between like Heidi and higher self Heidi? Like, what is that?
Fabulous question.
Explain it.
I don't fully understand, obviously, but this is just like my own feeling and my own sort of knowing is, you kind of have this like higher self version, which is, to me, it feels almost like a guardian angel or like a spirit guide. It's almost just like this soul or this energy that kind of knows what your path is going to play out in this. Like it knows your soul contract, or it knows what your lessons for this lifetime are supposed to be. And so it just kind of like is all knowing in my mind. Mm-hmm. And it was just able to kind of give me a lot more insight onto what just happened with that whole past life. And the interesting thing was, Larissa had asked something like, how was this, like, why did you bring me to this past life? Why is this one so significant? And my higher self had said, this is a mirror lifetime to her current lifetime. And everything just kind of like clicked, because all of the people that were in that past life that we were going through, I knew exactly who each of those were in this lifetime. And like, so my little sister was you, obviously. And so the feeling that we both didn't like Colorado, it was almost because that's how we separated. And I'm going to get emotional again, but it was so healing, but mostly just because it like brought awareness into, why I sort of feel some of the things, because a lot of what we discovered there too, it was because it was this like mirror lifetime. All those same struggles and all those same lessons that I was learning in that lifetime were mirrored in this lifetime too. So I was learning the exact same lessons. And so I ended up taking a trip to Colorado, and I went to the Red Rocks Amphitheater, which is beautiful. I'd never been there before. And I just sat there in the morning. It was a beautiful morning. It was February, but it was like 60 degrees and sunny. It was gorgeous. And coming from Maine, it was much needed sun and it was delicious. But I just sat there. Yeah, I needed all that vitamin D. I actually had a sunburn. It was lovely.
Ooh, yay, cancer.
Yes. But I just journaled, and it was almost like my higher self was coming through my journaling again, and I was just kind of free writing. And it was all about having stability and freedom simultaneously, because I always thought it was and or, like you can't have stability and freedom. It would be stability or freedom, but you can't have both. And that's how I made a lot of my choices. And that's how I kind of felt in my life. Like I can't really be free if I'm stable. So I just must be unstable all the time. It was that is kind of what came through out of that session. But then one of the bigger things that I released and realized in that trip too was that my choices, I've never made a wrong choice. Each choice was made for a reason, and it was all made for my highest good. I think I've carried a lot of burdens of my past choices for most of my life. And I really was able to release it on that trip of, everything happens for a reason. I saw everything so much more clearly afterwards. And it just was this amazing, eye-opening time with so many synchronicities. There were so many signs and synchronicities on that entire trip that I kind of knew ahead of time that I was going to be seeing, because I started getting these signs and synchronicities ahead of time. Actually, the day that I booked my Colorado trip, I went to the store and I had cash, which I never fucking have. And
Wow.
I paid, I know,
Look at
right?
you, girl.
I don't know how I got the cash.
Oh, okay.
But
Found it
I
in
had
the
cash.
couch.
So I paid in cash, and then I got my change back. And you just plop the change in your hand, and I kind of looked down, and I did a double take, and I looked at this quarter again, and I was like, hold on. And then I looked at it, and it's a Colorado quarter, which I still have. I kept it because it's kind of just like my reminder of that healing journey and everything that happened with that. But my other signs were, my higher self had told me in that session that I would see an eagle. An eagle is a symbol of when I'm following my path. And then like queen chess pieces kept coming up too, which was super random, but it totally made sense because it was almost like, when you're playing the game of chess, people are kind of focused on the king, but the queen is almost always a silent assassin because she can move anywhere, right?
Oh,
and
I
she's
like
just badass bitch.
Can we make that a t-shirt? The Silent Assassin.
The queen, the silent assassin, please. Oh my God, I would love to do that. Then when I was like booking my trip, I didn't really know, like I kind of wanted to stay around the Denver area, but not necessarily like downtown because it was expensive. But I found this place out in like a neighborhood suburb or whatever. But it was so funny because the very first picture of this hotel, you know how usually it's like a picture of the room or something, like the pool. It was a picture of their courtyard, which had a life-size chessboard. And like the queen was just like right there, right in the front. And I was like, oh, well,
It's a sign.
that's my sign. I need to stay in this hotel. So I did. And then as I was leaving my hotel one morning, it was like probably my last day there. And I realized that right across the street, there was this big sign that said Eagle Eyewear. And I was like, oh, Eagle, there's Eagle too. And so it was just so fun to see all those little like winks and nods from the universe. And it was a really, really fun and healing experience. And then I forgot to tell you about the fun little game that I played while I was there. Because I kind of wanted to do, okay, well, like what's this fun stability versus freedom thing that I could do? Like, okay, I can have stability in my choices, but also freedom in my choices. And so I wrote on a bunch of different colored popsicle sticks. And so, for example, I had one that said, Heidi needs to go to this person's favorite restaurant. And it was all kind of like that because my idea was I wanted random strangers to pull from this popsicle, like from this jar of popsicle sticks and like determine what my next move was. So
you had to do whatever they chose.
I had to do whatever they said. And so like the first one, I was at a coffee shop and I had them pull, and it was that one, like Heidi has to go to your favorite restaurant. And so she told me what her favorite restaurant was, Fire on the Mountain. And she's like, oh, and you have to get the seitan wings and like this specific sauce
Seitan
and this
wings.
Yeah. So seitan, it's kind of like tempeh. I don't know how, I'm probably saying it wrong. But it's like, is it like tofu or I don't know, but basically it's a plant-based wing. But it was delicious. It was a plant-based chicken wing. And it was so good. And the sauces that she recommended were amazing. And so I was like, this is so fun. And then another thing that I had was, tell me your favorite Spotify playlist. And so my waiter that I had at the Fire on the Mountain told me he's like, well, I don't really have Spotify, but my favorite artist right now is Father John Misty. And he gave me a specific song to listen to. And I listened to it and I absolutely loved it. And I sent it to my husband. I'm like, this song's so cool. And then the next day he was like, did you know that he's going to be in Portland doing a concert this summer? And I was like, no, but we should go. So it was like all these little things that just kept like aligning. And it was just really fun. But it all kind of stemmed from this weird aversion to Colorado. But now I feel like so healed from Colorado that I'm like, I actually love it now. Like I have like a special place in my heart now to like go. I don't think I would ever live there, but it was almost kind of funny because I was like, I can't really figure out Colorado because I forget that it's like the Wild West technically. And so like when I'm seeing cowboy hats and cowboy boots and stuff, like I associate that with like Texas, but then I'm seeing it in Colorado. My brain can't really compute because I'm like, there's mountains, there's skiing and cowboys. I mean, it makes sense because it is the gateway to the West, but yeah, it's hard for little Midwest / East Coast girl me to figure that out.
I love it. I remember when you first told me about this and you said, and you were my little sister. And I'm like, oh gosh, that sounds great.
What?
But you were saying how, you felt bad because in that past life, I didn't really get to know you that well, didn't talk to you after I was 7. And then I went on to probably marry some old man too.
No, I actually do have the rest of your story if you want to know.
Oh, okay.
I think but it kind of came when my higher self was talking too. It was you actually moved to New England. I think it was Connecticut or something. But you did get out of the South, which was very important to you. Yeah. And you actually married somebody who was lovely. You had a fabulous life. And we did kind of, we were able to exchange letters back and forth, but we didn't ever, I don't think we ever really like reconnected to, but we were able to at least write. But yeah, it was sad. It was really sad.
So now we're making up for that in this life, spending every single day together.
Every single day, talking for hours every day. And I
will say when I was younger, I remember this very vividly. And Mom, if you're listening, let me know if you remember too. But I remember you are 4 years younger than me. And so when I was almost 4, I remember being like, Mom, where's my sister? Where is she? Because I just knew you were supposed to be there. Or maybe I thought you were like my older sister. But I just remember being so freaking bored until you came along.
Aww.
But I was kind of a little shit afterwards when you did come along. I was like, wait, now I want my attention back. Come on.
But 4 years apart when you're like 11 and 7 is very different from when you're like 30 and 34, which we're not anymore, but
no,
we can pretend. What are we, 34 and 38? Yeah,
let's
there
not.
we are.
Oh well. I think I actually already mentioned my age. It's okay. Okay, I do want to ask you a question though about the past life regression that you did with Larissa, because I've never done it and I do want to do it, but of course the skeptic in me is like, how do I know if I'm making it up? Is there a feeling you get, like, how do you know you're actually going and tapping into a past life? Or if you're just like, this is a picture I'm seeing, I'm going to turn this into a story and make it make sense in my brain. I don't know. Sorry to sound rude, but
no. It's totally valid. And that's something that Larissa really did address very well too. But it was pretty much just like that. She's like, yeah, people think that they're just making this up. But at the same time, like, you're not going to be just seeing these pictures. Like, they're not just random. I mean, they feel random, but even the story that you can kind of like link together things, like when you're seeing these pictures or getting these feelings, it just, if it comes out of you and you say it and it's like flowing, it's all coming out for a reason. So whether or not you made it up or not, what if I made up all that story? I could have made all that up. But the fact that it was able to help me heal in this lifetime, that's really what matters.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters whether or not every single fact of what I did was right. I think what matters is how it helps me and how it helped my journey.
That's beautiful, Heidi.
Yeah. Well, shout out Larissa. She's amazing. So
heck yeah.
If you guys want to,
her information in the show notes.
Yeah, her information is definitely in the show notes. If you book a session with her, tell her you heard it from Trust Yourself podcast, because she's just so great. I would love for you guys to hit her up.
Yeah. Of course, I've always been skeptical and like, I don't know if that's true. But after hearing all of these things from Nora and this from you, it's just, I can't deny it anymore. And you know what? It's a little bit more fun this way. Like, what?
It is. It's so much more fun.
I mean, it's exciting because it's like, oh, the opportunities. And you mean I get to try again? Also, although I'm like exhausted. I don't know if I want to do this again, but
I know there's times where I'm like, I definitely don't want to come back in this decade. Shit.
Yeah. Oh my God. No. But I did do some research and I thought it was fascinating that really only 1 in 4 Americans believe in reincarnation. Although it's about 50% of millennials do. So, hey, millennials, bringing
Shout
it up.
out.
But this is why it's really hard for people to talk about, I think, or just say like, I had this weird feeling, and everybody kind of keeps it to themselves. I also think a huge factor of this has to do with religion. Not dissing on religion at all. Obviously, I'm a pastor's kid here. But whether you're religious or not, I think that's still kind of ingrained in our society, that a lot of religions like Christianity and Judaism and Islam, and of course there's branches within those that are very different, but I think like the mainstream belief of those religions is that we have a linear soul journey and we live this one life, we die, and we go to heaven. So the idea of reincarnation being like a do-over doesn't really fit that narrative. So that's why it's really hard for people to be like, I believe that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Despite that, I think a lot of people still believe in reincarnation, even if they are religious, because you've got things like your kids saying creepy shit, or you have like that déjà vu or those soul memories and those instant connections. You're like, yes, I know this is what my religion says, but what if, I don't know. What if we all live like a what if life? What if?
I love that idea. Oh, just saying what if, just because it can really expand your mind and open up your universe and your world. Because, it is sometimes, if you think about you just die and then you spend eternity where? Like,
Who knows?
it can get really like, I don't know,
Scary.
it gives me anxiety sometimes if I think about that. But if you also think about like, oh, but you have the choices and like you can do this or you can come back or you can, help other people. It's just, it feels good to me. So I like to think of it that way, but everybody can think of it however they want.
Well, I do think, and I love my dad for saying this, obviously. We should have dad on this podcast.
100%.
See if it works, but if he's willing. Sorry, dad, I'm just throwing you out here. But I've always thought, like I've talked to dad about this before because he is a Presbyterian pastor. And I'm just like, I'm so confused. There's so many religions, so many different beliefs. What's real? What do we know? And he's like, who knows? What if they're all true? And they're all true in their own way. Yet we are human. Like we are human, and the Bible was written by human hands. Doesn't mean we're perfect. There could be things in there that are completely made up, right? That
Or
are
just misconstrued, like it gets changed so many times too.
I need to stop saying 100%. I just listened to episode 4 and I said 100% like 1,000 times. So sorry,
I probably
everybody.
do the same.
Crap. Yeah. But I just think that's beautiful because yes, you can have belief in something greater than you. Doesn't mean that your belief is right or wrong. So, and doesn't mean that this is your only life. Who knows? What if? So
I love that.
I think maybe we just start journaling the unexplainable things that happen around you. Like if you have unexplainable fears, like my neighbor, I love boats, but I have to see land. Like journal about it, see what comes out. Ask if your kids do come to you with some weird shit that they're talking about, be open about it. Just ask them questions, stay curious, and don't shut it down right away. Like, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
I think that was a dream, honey. Or don't shut it down. And then also try a guided past life regression, maybe even just like a meditation. You don't have to go to someone like
you don't need to do 6 hours.
That's amazing, by the way. I can't
so
believe
fun.
Larissa does that. I need to meet with her. But
I told her she needs to charge more.
But you can also do meditations, and maybe we can also put a link for one of those in the show notes because they're so good. But mostly just trust what resonates with you and what makes sense in your soul. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah, if you have any stories like this, maybe they're not exactly the same, but if you've ever experienced something unexplainable,
Or your kids have.
or your kids have, or if if you have a past life, or if you feel like you just had unexplainable events or anything just weird that you haven't really felt like you've been able to tell anybody, you can tell us.
Yes.
And please send your stories to us. Just email us stories@trustyourselfpodcast.com. Link is in the show notes, but we would love to hear your stories. We want to start reading stories on these episodes. So if you do send it to us, let us know if we are able to read it or not, please.
Yeah. All right, Heidi, are you ready to do the tarot for the week? Let's see.
I am so ready. So I just pulled them. I pulled them off the mic so you don't hear me shuffling, but it's so crazy how these cards align so much with what we are talking about. So the two tarot cards that I got with my Spirit Song tarot deck was the Moon, which is represented by the owl. It's all about imagination, perception, seeing through the night, seeing through the dark. And then I also got King of Feathers, which is represented by the lion, all about logic and justice. So it's literally almost like the yin and yang of like having a little bit of logic, but also trusting your intuition. And it's almost, it almost felt like a pull between the two of like, don't overthink things. Don't overanalyze. Make sure you have a nice balance. Yeah. And then I got two oracle cards for us. The first one is from the Moonology Oracle deck, and it says, "Nothing is yet set in stone." So again, those choices, there's never a wrong choice. And then I got for my Earth Magic deck, Clouds, which represents shape shifting.
That's
so
just
it's
what you
all,
talked about.
I know. I got goosies when I was pulling them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so perfect."
I
so
love it.
yeah, it just is a reminder to use both logic and also your intuition, and your life is going to be shape shifting, and nothing is ever set in stone. So don't ever feel like you made the wrong choice or you're like ruining your life with a choice, because that's never the thing, right? We're always changing, we're always growing, and we're always moving forward.
I love it. Well, until next time, it's your move, sis.
Make it count. Bye.